He did admit that he was afraid when he was picked up because he said well, he didn't mention the time. You said he was picked up somewhere in the thick of the night. But he did mention that he was afraid as at the time he was picked up. He said he was going to the governor's house. Was there a particular reason why he was picked up? Because you said you kept him for less than an hour. If that is the case, why was he picked up at all?
I did not say that we kept him. Now, I want you to know that because of the secure environment of the DSS, it was used as an operational base. And it's not the first time the DSS premises is being used. So for all people that were picked, their final destination was the DSS. And so when he was taken to the DSS office, the senior officer supervising the election or coordinating the elections walked in. And when she saw him, she said, "Oh, Alhaji, what's the problem?" And now said, "Okay, please, just take him. Where were you picked up? What was the problem?" Because, of course, the people that picked him didn't even know who he was. And that's to tell you that when we do our operations, we don't look on faces.
So you're saying that you were just doing operational duty, going around and making sure that you were picking people, but
exactly,
there was no reason. As far as you're concerned, he was loitering or he was roaming about, as you rightly
He was loitering at that hour of the night.
Was that the only reason? If people couldn't state their business, they were taken into the DSS office?
People couldn't do what? Sorry?
Was there a particular reason? The reason I seem to be getting from you was that if you saw anybody loitering, as it were, you used the word roaming about. Was that the only reason he was picked up for, along with his
Let me tell you the truth. The hour of the night, remember that election materials were still being moved. The hour of the night, when they were stopped and asked what they were doing, they could not tender any tangible reason for being outside at that particular period of the night.
Okay.
And so if they were allowed to go, it would have been because they were driving in a big jeep. Whoever was found outside as at that period was brought in.
Okay, Mr. Ogar, I'd like to take you back a little to that issue of the bribe offered to the DSS. In the course of your answering that question, you said something that sounded as though you've been offered bribes before and you turned them down. But bribery is a crime. How is it that we've not had any arrest? And what's wrong with arresting this particular person? I know you talked about the carrot and stick, but it's a crime to offer bribes.
Well, you will call it bribe. I'm sure the people that were doing the offering didn't see it as a bribe. And I have never mentioned the word bribe. The media has used the word bribe in order to make it sensational. I could make you an offer and saying, okay, this should assist you in what you are doing. It's either you take it or you refuse. But it all depends on the interpretation the other person that is watching would give to it. I did say here that they offered us money to assist us, and we said no.
Okay, a picture of the DSS has been painted as being unaccommodating, that you're not as accommodating as even the president, or in a democracy you should be. Is that what you're doing?
I'm sure if we were not accommodating, the executive governor of Osun State wouldn't have written inviting us to come. It is because he knows that we are very accommodating and we are very thorough when it comes to operations, and that the truth will always be told. That was why we were invited. And please remember, he says, this request is to help secure peace.
But, you know, part of what people deduced from what you said in the previous press conference, you know, when you said God is a Nigerian, there were those who thought that, wait a minute, doesn't that presuppose that maybe that's what Auntie also trying to allude to, that you're not as accommodating, perhaps, as the president, because there's freedom of expression. And so if people said certain things, maybe they might have thought that they were expressing themselves freely. And you said, yes, God is a Nigerian and people should have been in prison before now. What was the intention when you said that?
I didn't say that. I didn't use the term God is a Nigerian because people will be in prison. I have said that we are Nigerians. Maybe you are relatively too young to know that in the past there are regimes that have been in position of authority that the things that we are seeing today ordinarily would not happen during such regimes. That's why I said God is a Nigerian. And that's the truth. You know, because people deliberately would want to enter your house, strip you of your possession, and still claim right over those possessions. And then you are supposed to keep quiet, just like we are doing.
Would you say that so far so good, the security agencies, as is you speak for one of them, that they are apolitical, that they have no political affiliations regardless of whoever is in authority?
Definitely. We are non-partisan and we will never be partisan. Whether it's the police, whether it's the SSS, whether it's the military, however, we are non-partisan.
Okay, but for those who also have looked at the deployment of security and those who think it's a necessity, yes, we need them for elections, but they have others who are wondering, are we going to be able to deploy, they use the adequate security for the general election as well? And they're also wondering, wouldn't we have a challenge? Because now that people have gotten used to security, some people going about the elections, at least so far, no recorded deaths yet. Will there be that
now,
same
let me tell you the truth, Chamberlain. The problem is that once there is a general election, there is restriction of movement. So a situation where you have these staggered elections, that's where we always have problems. For example, what was Alhaji Lai Mohammed doing in Osun State? If they are going to have general elections, he will be in Kwara. And so, you know, the security deployment within the various states ordinarily are sufficient to be able to take on or curtail whatever security threats may want to play up in such states. But where the problem is when you have elections in just one state, you have 35 plus the FCT supporters wanting to move into that state. And so for you to be able to meet up and contain the security threats and challenges, you must also be able to move men and material to be able to meet up with these threats and provide a secure environment. So the general elections, we don't normally have this kind of threat because people are restricted naturally to their states.
All right, so we'll have to thank
and
you
remember
for
that before the general elections come in, we have already started profiling groups, persons that we think or we know, based on all evidence, that would pose as a threat to these elections. And we know what we normally do the needful before the date of the elections.
Okay, thank you for speaking with us today on Sunrise Daily.